Welcome to December, everybody. The past couple weeks have been unbelievably chaotic, and I apologize for my absence, but alas, I have returned and just in time for Indiecember. If you haven't heard of Indiecember, it's a reading challenge created by Megan Tennant that centers around indie books and their authors. It's a great way to support indie authors while having some fun and getting in some reading before the year is over. If you're interested in the Indiecember challenge, I'll be leaving links down in the description where you can find rules and other information. In honor of Indiecember, I have decided to do the book selection tag, which I found over on LaCroix's channel, which I will also be linking down in the description. So, without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Question number 1. How do you decide what to read next? Do you read in a specific genre or is it random? Just about everything I read is fantasy in some way, shape, or form, though I do also have a deep love for historical fiction, so I'm likely to read something within those two genres, and I don't typically stray from them. Question number 2. How important is the cover? Do you judge a book by its cover? I would never judge a book based on its cover simply because a cover actually matters very little to me. The first step in a book gaining my attention is an interesting title, and from there an equally interesting description. So regardless of what the cover looks like, if it has a captivating enough description, I'm likely to give it a read. Question number 3. Do you read hardbacks, paperbacks, ebooks, or do you listen to audiobooks? I used to read hardback and paperback books, but due to certain aspects of my life changing, I was forced to turn to ebooks and audiobooks. Ebooks are extremely convenient because you can carry around an entire library with you at all times, but for me, audiobooks are a bit more complicated because I have the attention span of a squirrel. So I often will play match 3 games while I'm listening to audiobooks just because they allow my mind to stay focused on something without requiring too much attention that would take away from the audiobooks. Question number 4. Do you prefer series or standalones, and why? Don't get me wrong, I do read standalone novels and I do enjoy them, but I prefer series because I enjoy becoming invested in characters and worlds in a way that I just don't really get with standalone novels. Question number 5. Do you binge read or do you take your time reading a few chapters at a time? 90% of the time I am a binge reader, but the other 10% life makes me into a person that has to read whenever she gets the chance. The only downside to being a binge reader is that I tend to read a lot quicker, so that means I'm left having to find a new book to read a lot quicker as well. Question number 6. Bookmarks or dog ear? And if you use a bookmark, what do you use as a bookmark? The idea of dog earing a book scares me because it's just wrong. I'm actually letting my little sister read my Harry Potter books, and I'm absolutely terrified that she's going to dog ear the pages, even though I know she's not a monster and would never do that to a book. Being that I read ebooks and listen to audiobooks, I don't necessarily have a need for a bookmark, but when I used to traditionally read, I did love bookmarks, and when I was younger, I would even make my own just so I would always have one. Question number 7. Do you take notes in your books, or is this forbidden? This is absolutely forbidden! Writing in a book is even worse than dog-earing its pages. I typically keep a notebook on hand for whenever I want to take notes on something, though even if I wanted to write something in the book, which I never would, I couldn't because I use ebooks and audiobooks, so regardless, I would have to keep a notebook on hand. Question number 8. How soon do you read a new book? Do you rush to a new one, or do you need some time in between? It definitely depends on what kind of mood I'm in. Sometimes I'll blow through books one after another, and other times there's a long stretch between reads. I also have to remember to make time for my writing in between reads, so that plays a part in it as well. Question number 9. Do you write reviews for books, including bad reviews? This is going to sound horrible, but I don't usually write reviews because I am a very shy person who is always doubting herself, and every time I have tried writing a review, I always psych myself out. This is actually one reason I am participating in Indiecember, because I am hoping to change that aspect of myself, because writers just deserve their reviews because books are amazing and they deserve to know if they're amazing. However, I don't think I would ever write a bad review, because if a book isn't for me, it isn't for me, and that doesn't mean it isn't for somebody else. Question number 10. What is your favorite book to recommend to others? My favorite book, or more so a series, to recommend to others is the Gardella series by Colin Gleason. It is my absolute favorite book series, and I don't think that will ever change. But here recently, I have been recommending The Savior's Champion by Jenna Morassi to just about anyone I know who actually reads. So the two are pretty tied and equally deserving of being recommended. And that's it for this video. I'm not going to tag anybody. I will just leave it open to anybody who is interested in doing this. I shall see you all next week. Happy reading and writing.